Welcome to the Building Bridges for Adults workshop on Eastern religions. This workshop will look at several Eastern religions that all began around the same time. 5 religions were founded between 600 and 500 BCE, all 5 of which have been influential in world history and still are practiced today: Zoroastrianism, Jainism, Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. In the several hundred years leading up to 600 BCE, Iran, India, and China were places of danger, turmoil, and radical social change. The tensions in which people lived had multiple effects. Artistic expression and scientific invention abounded, and because life was so tenuous in their physical world, people looked beyond themselves for answers. From this fertile spiritual soil of high energy and creativity, rapid change, and great uncertainty emerged 5 major religions, all of which survive, including one of the 5 largest faiths on earth, Buddhism. These religions, born in dynamic answer to human need, have been sustaining people ever since. There are remarkable similarities between these faiths and notable differences. All emerged on the contiguous landmass of Asia. Zoroastrianism arose in Iran, Jainism and Buddhism emerged in India, and Taoism and Confucianism in China. We can speculate why there might be such similarity among faiths born in the same part of the world around the same time. In Iran, beginning in 653 BCE, the Assyrian Empire to the east conquered part of the region, the Median Empire was overrun by Scythians, and a new Persian ruler took advantage of the mayhem to seize control. Further victories and defeats, maneuverings, and strategic alliances fed the growth of the Persian Achaemenid Empire. It was a dangerous and unsettling time to live in Iran. Into this maelstrom was born Zarathustra, more commonly known as Zoroaster. A religious leader, Zarathustra preached that God had a single aspect called Ahura Mazda. Monotheism was a radical shift from the native polytheistic religion of Iran, and many found it profoundly reassuring. Zarathustra taught that Ahura Mazda was in constant relationship with human beings and sought expression through the physical world. Water, for example, was a specific expression of God. So in Zoroastrianism, God is physically present in everything a person sees, breathes, eats, or touches. Thus was born Zoroastrianism. The 3 wise men of the East who traveled to Bethlehem bringing gifts to the baby Jesus might have been Zoroastrians. In India, the ancient tribal structure of society was disintegrating, forming instead into regional kingdoms. Change in age-old social structure was profoundly unsettling and made more difficult by the maneuverings for power and land among the new leaders, always dangerous to ordinary civilians. Into this atmosphere were born Vatamana and Siddhara Gautama, both of whom would later be known by different names, Mahavira and the Buddha. In the Hindu tradition, a teacher is often honored with a different name upon reaching a high level of spiritual attainment, and both the names Mahavira and Buddha were honorifics. Mahavira, meaning great hero, and Buddha, meaning awakened one or enlightened one. Both Buddha and Mahavira were born into the ruling warrior caste in India. Both, as young adults, left their privileged lives to follow a spiritual path. Both sought for years, attained enlightenment, and devoted the rest of their lives to teaching what they had learned. Buddha taught the middle way: strong self-discipline, yet with neither self-indulgence nor self-denial. Mahavira was 24th in a line of Tirthankara, pathmakers or great teachers. However, he is credited with founding Jainism, since he distilled the teachings of many centuries. Mahavira's central teaching, the most fundamental principle of Jainism, was ahimsa, nonviolence. Do no harm to any living thing, and do as much good as possible. While the Buddha also taught ahimsa, the lengths the Jains went to not cause harm was extreme by comparison. The teachings of both Mahavira and the Buddha were for women as well as men, for people of all castes or classes, and provided clear guidelines for living a good life and making spiritual progress. This accessibility and clarity were profoundly reassuring for a populace whose social fabric was unraveling. In China, the 6th century BCE was the end of the spring and autumn period of Chinese history. After more than 100 years of invasions, strategic alliances, and broken treaties, warlords were consolidating kingdoms and wiping out smaller adversaries. Creativity is a frequent outlet for human anxiety, and in China, as in India and Iran, this was a time of surpassingly beautiful art and scientific innovation. The blisteringly fast rate of cultural change, political upheaval, and everyday danger in China created an atmosphere where people were ready for the calming, interconnecting philosophies of Taoism and the down-to-earth practicality of the teachings of Confucianism. Taoism and Confucianism provided ballast and meaning in a physical world that was anything but predictable. Many Chinese today still practice both Taoism and Confucianism. The strict ethical guidelines of how to be in humane relationship with other people of Confucianism is seen to balance the less structured and less directional Taoism. There is one particular belief on which all faiths agree, ahimsa, the doctrine of nonviolence. 4 out of the 5 religions are noteworthy for the concept of gender equality. Looked at through a social justice lens, we see these two doctrines are related. Treating people unequally does harm, so a full and logical application of ahimsa would require gender equality. By gender equality, we mean that these religions did not give one set of instructions to males and one to females. It does not imply that societies founded on these religions did not or do not exhibit prescribed gender roles, such as which gender is presumed to take care of the home and children, and which gender is given preferential treatment in education. It is not unusual to find a culture among religious societies that does not reflect all aspects of a religion's doctrine. This can be seen by the fact that Confucianism, based strongly on cultural practices of its founding time, reflects many patriarchal attitudes, such as how wives should be obedient, while also emphasizing the value of both men and women. Other parallels among these faiths? All are creedal. They teach specific ideas as enduring truth. All are prophetic faiths, created from the teachings of inspired human beings. All but Zoroastrianism are non-theistic. Of the 5 founders, only Zarathustra taught the existence of a literal God. The existence or non-existence of God is immaterial to Jainism, Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. All are non-judgmental. None of these 5 preach theirs as the only way to enlightenment or salvation. Zoroastrianism, while it teaches that the good will go to heaven and the bad to hell, does not require that people be Zoroastrian to be considered good. Further, hell is a temporary place. Zoroastrians, like our Universalist forebears, believe in universal salvation. All except Zoroastrianism are sometimes called philosophies, since they do not require belief in a literal God. Usually, however, Buddhism and Jainism are considered religions, Taoism less so. Confucianism is most commonly considered a philosophy with a religious function, and is sometimes called a Chinese example of humanism. The distinction between a religion and a philosophy is not terribly significant to Eastern thought. Many Easterners would answer the religion versus philosophy question by saying their faith is both a religion and a philosophy. Next month, we'll be looking at Buddhism in great detail. Let's look at some common tenets of the other 4 religions. Jains are fervently committed to ahimsa. As far as possible, they do no harm to anything that lives. The Jain symbol is a hand with a wheel and the word ahimsa in the palm, reminding Jains to be aware of the effect they have on their world. Jains practice radical mindfulness of all living things. Human, of course, but also animals, all kinds, mammals to bugs, plants, even microorganisms, anything they know to be alive. Jains take an oath to take nothing unless it is offered, either by a person or by the earth. Here is a partial list of what Jains will not do: kill an animal for food, pick fruit from a tree, eat any root vegetable, eat leftovers, burn a fire at night, or smack a mosquito. Zoroastrianism is an intricate religion. It espouses a constant battle between good and evil, and humans play an important role in this battle, marked by many festivals and rituals. Several rituals involve fire. Zoroastrians are sometimes misunderstood as worshipping fire. While not true, the misconception derives from their use of a sacred fire in prayer and worship. Fire as a symbol of God exists from the most ancient times. Fire is mysteriously powerful, it devours, it purifies, it is light, warmth, and energy, just as God is frequently portrayed as light, warmth, and energy. Zoroastrians therefore utilize the sacred fire to focus their worship, but are not worshiping the flame itself. Can you think of any other religions that feature fire, light, or candles prominently? Almost all Unitarian Universalist congregations share the symbol of the flaming chalice, and like Zoroastrians, we use it as a symbol of all that we share, whatever each of us considers most high or divine. Taoism is a faith practiced by more than 20 million people around the world. The name comes from the word Tao, which means the way. In this case, the way means a way of living in balance and at peace with all that is. Taoism is very old. We know that it existed before 550 BCE and that it originated in China. Many Chinese today consider themselves Taoist, although they might also say they are Buddhist or Confucianist as well. Believing in Taoism does not preclude engaging in other religions. Some would say that Taoism, like Buddhism, is more philosophy than a religion because of its emphasis on how you live your life rather than on worshiping gods or goddesses. However, Taoism takes many different forms, and some Taoists do worship deities, and some do not. Taoism is not a popular religion outside of China. In this country, for example, not many people consider themselves Taoists. However, popular culture has embraced a few Taoist practices and beliefs, such as the exercise Tai Chi, the decorating principles of Feng Shui, and the yin-yang symbol. A popular book is the Tao of Pooh, which compares Taoist principles with the lives of characters from Winnie the Pooh. While there are several ideas central to Taoism, or following the way, we will focus on these three. Balance is key to peace and happiness. Troubles of various kinds are the results of imbalance. We are part of nature. Being healthy and at peace with our physicality is essential to mental and emotional clarity and health. Everything must be in balance. The art of Tai Chi, a system of slow, meditative physical exercise designed for relaxation, balance, and health, grew out of Taoism. There is a flow of energy through all things, which Taoism refers to as Qi. Recognizing and moving with this natural flow of energy will make life joyful and easy. Resisting it will make life a struggle. Taoism is like Unitarian Universalism in that the search for truth is the individual's responsibility. Taoism tells you that balance will lead to peace and happiness, but it will not tell you what balance looks like in your own life. The most important text in Taoism is the Tao Te Ching. Although it is a tiny volume, the Tao Te Ching is very important as a religious text. It has 81 chapters, which sounds like a lot, but each chapter is only a few lines or paragraphs long. Part of the reason for this simplicity is that there's a trade-off of work. The chapters are intentionally spare because they are intended to be catalysts. The reader must contemplate them to discover their meaning. Confucius was a revered Chinese philosopher who lived over 2,000 years ago. Confucius taught in short sayings called aphorisms. An aphorism is a brief statement that expresses an important idea in a memorable way. Confucius never considered his teachings religious. He offered practical advice to help people behave virtuously and to conduct harmonious relationships with their parents, spouse, family members, friends, and also their ruler and/or subjects in the hierarchy of his time and place. People's spiritual beliefs were of no concern to Confucius. That is why many consider Confucianism a philosophy and not a religion. Here are just a few of the many aphorisms attributed to Confucius. Choose a job you love, and you will never have to work a day in your life. It does not matter how slowly you go, as long as you do not stop. To move a mountain, one begins by carrying away small stones. Do not impose on others what you yourself do not desire. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in getting up every time we do. While there is no formal Confucian religion for people to join today, Confucian ideas are woven into other Eastern faiths that consider a sense of duty, right behavior, and respect for elders and ancestors very important. As Unitarian Universalists, we may also draw from Confucian wisdom. Thank you for listening to the Building Bridges for Adults workshop on Eastern religions. Learn more about Eastern religions on our Facebook page.